Prayer for Walton Bay, a novel based in the area of Kingston, Ontario in the late 1800s. This story was inspired from the desire to see Canada return to its simple roots after seeing such division during the pandemic in recent years. Available now on Amazon, this book will help fund our efforts here at Momentum Canada, since we are not government funded. Rather than just ask for money, I wanted to give you something wholesome for you to enjoy as well. So place your order today and enjoy a great story for such a time as this. All right, how's it going, everybody? Brandon McCaskill here with Momentum Canada. Thank you for joining me today. If you're new to the channel, please smash that subscribe button. We're in a time of our lives where subscribing, liking, sharing, that type of stuff is very, very important. And it's what we're going to talk about as one of our topics. So welcome to Momentum Monday. This is a segment of my channel that I just go live and talk to you guys in the chat. So if you're here watching, be sure, if you're here on the live video, be sure to say hi, and I'll try to get to your comments as soon as I can. I try to have a dialogue with you guys. If you have a certain angle or perspective that maybe you disagree with me, maybe you're seeing it in a different light, be sure to share those, and I'll read them out loud for the audience to enjoy. All right, so with that said, before we move on, I just want to encourage you guys to, if you're not subscribed yet over at our Rumble channel, go do that. We're at Momentum Canada on Rumble. And right now I'm having issues with the live stream over at Rumble. I just got a message right now as I jumped on here live that there was something funky going on with the live stream link. So just know that you probably can't watch me on Rumble today, but that's okay. We're not going to be talking about sensitive topics that YouTube will want to censor. So you can watch me here for now, but just so that you are subscribed, make sure you go do that, because just a couple of weeks ago, I got a strike for something I didn't even do. So 2 more of those and my channel could be gone. So just make sure you're subscribed so that we can stay in touch. All right. And I'll also share with you an email so that we can stay in touch as well. This is, where is it here? Right here. dearmomentumcanada@gmail.com. I'll leave that up for a few minutes while we get started here. I'm going to read the comments that I have so far. So this was from earlier. Mike Mull says, can't join you live today with regrets. I was at Nathan Phillips Square at 10 a.m. when the slate of candidates for the Toronto mayoral election was introduced to support Chris Sky. Awesome. I'm very interested with that whole thing with Chris Sky running for mayor. I think that's very, very fascinating. He was someone that I never really expected, I guess. Maybe it was, I don't know the guy too well. I don't watch a lot of his content, but I have seen his content. And I think he would make a good decision maker because he's very rational and he's honest. But yeah, I'm very interested to see how that all unfolds over these next few months. Now, I don't even know when the Toronto election is. So maybe someone can educate me. Let me know when that mayoral race takes place. All right. So Mike continues by saying, after that, a few of us went to the Ontario Legislature building to tell some MPPs what Ontarians think of them. Awesome. Yeah, Mike Mull he's a regular subscriber and viewer and supporter. He's become a good friend. We talk off screen a lot. He sends me his theories, his 2 cents on a lot of things that go on in this country and abroad. So he's become a good friend, and it's really inspiring to see people. And I don't mean to, what's the word here? Ageism. I don't want to be an ageist, but for a guy of his age and how involved he is, it's very, very inspiring and encouraging. So hats off to Mike Mull. Appreciate you, buddy. I know you'll watch this later, but hats off to you, sir. Lynn B says, howdy, Lynn B. Great to see you. Lynn B is another great supporter. She, just in so many ways. She's very encouraging and very informative, a very informative lady. She sends me what she has all the time as well. And by the way, guys, when you email me stuff, I'm not annoyed. Sometimes I take forever to reply to your stuff, but it's not because I'm annoyed. It's because I'm just busy, and I try to get to it as soon as I can. But always know that it's if it seems like I'm ignoring you, it's just because I'm busy, and I certainly do my best. Fighting Hate 202 or 2.0. I think it was 1.0 a few weeks ago, wasn't it? So this is Fighting Hate 2.0. I think this is the fellow that said he was his channel was banned. So this is Fighting Hate 2.0. Welcome to the stream. Hopefully you behave yourself and keep your channel up and running. Thank you, Lynn. She's sharing my Rumble stream. That's exactly how you find it. Yeah, so make sure you just copy and paste that into your browser and smash that subscribe button over there. Limby says, to speak with Brandon or to tell your story, Momentum Canada's email, dearmomentumcanada@gmail.com. Yes, exactly. And that's why I wanted to jump over to Rumble, because I wanted to start this storytelling segment of my channel where I interview you guys, which I'm totally still interested in doing that. If you have a story where you were negatively affected in the last 3 years with the handling of this pandemic, I want to hear your story, whatever it's about, because we can speak freely over at Rumble. So that's a good opportunity for you to do that at dearmomentumcanada@gmail.com. Right on. Vikram Singh says, support Chris Sky, folks. He is more awake than most. Yeah, I could get behind him. Now, I'm not in Toronto. I'm about 3 hours, let's see here, southwest of Toronto, 3 hours southwest. So I definitely support him from abroad. I think he's from what I gather, he's a very noble fellow. He's very when you hear him talk, he talks a mile a minute. He's like the Ben Shapiro of the freedom movement here in Canada, in my opinion, because I can't talk that fast. I got to think before I speak, and I got to kind of pace myself so that I don't get too ahead of myself. I'm just not gifted in that way. So kudos to him for being talented in his communication skills. Fighting Hate 202 says, I can't behave myself when the rules on YouTube are arbitrary. That's so true. That is very true. Because just a couple of weeks ago, shining example, they accused me of talking about the 2020 presidential thingy, right? You know what I mean? And I didn't. I don't know how to put this any other way, but I didn't talk about it. I talked about Canada's voting process, which I don't even want to get into, because I see, it's how frustrating is that to live in a society where we have to walk on eggshells like this. This isn't the country that I was wanting and hoping to raise my son, and we have a daughter on the way. That's a new announcement. Me and my wife are expecting a daughter, and I'm so excited. And but yeah, all that to say, Canada has become this machine that I didn't want to raise my kids here. It's pretty terrible, a lot of the stuff. Linby says, please know that YouTube takes 30%, and she's referring to donation. So if you want to donate to the channel, they take 30% if you do it through the chat or I can't remember what other means they allow you to do it. Super chat, I think that's what it's called. And Rumble takes 20%. We are not government sponsored. Every dollar helps. Please help support the channel. Yes, thank you. And that is I think that's the new link, because Lynn, I listened to your advice last week. You told me that the link was broken, so I went back and checked it. I think that's the new link. I think that'll work. So perfect. Awesome. Lemby says, congratulations. Well, thank you. Yeah, we're very, very excited. Honeycomb says, congrats. Thank you, Honeycomb. Appreciate it. Vikram says, the Canada that we grew up in is nearly finished. Yeah, it's definitely on its last life. That's for sure. No, that's still the old link, the one that works. Awesome. Yeah, I think it's the same link, but I just had to go and refresh it. So it's like the same link, but it's working now. So thank you for pointing that out. That's a really important thing that you pointed out for me. So thank you. All right. So let's get into today's video. Now, this is, if you're familiar with the show, it's not like breaking news we always bring up. I'm trying to get a download of how you guys have absorbed the last week's news. So uh, we heard all about Bill C-11, and we continue to hear about Bill C-11. And it's like, I'm so tired of talking about it, but we have to talk about it. And it's um, right now we're continuing to be at this place where it's just so frustrating because we can't. It seems like we can't get a foothold in onto the path that is right for this country. And so what happened last week with Bill 17? So if you're not aware, sorry, not Bill 17, Bill C-11. If you're not aware of what Bill C-11 is, it's the censorship bill that essentially gives the CRTC powers to regulate content creators. So that's people like me who are just on YouTube having a conversation with you guys, or even the moms that are doing little blogs in their backyard, on how to grow tomatoes. Like, this bill is going to punish those people um, by giving the CRTC power to determine whether or not that they qualify as Canadian content, or in other words, content that they approve of. Um, so that's what the bill is. And the last kind of update or the last time I talked about it, at least, we were talking about how it was sent to the Senate, and the Senate made some amendments, which included um, telling the House of Commons, basically the Liberals and NDPs, to back off of the little guys, of these independent creators, content creators. Leave them alone is essentially what they were saying. So they sent it was a bunch of amendments, and a lot of them were accepted because that's kind of how things work. It kind of makes things all murky and messy so that we don't really see what's going on. Um, but they rejected the amendment proposed by the Senate that included leaving us alone. So last week, this was the breaking news, and a few of the conservatives, like the leadership, Pierre Poilievre, he was making a video, and I never know. They make these videos, and they're in the parliament, and they're like huffing and puffing, running down the stairs, and I don't know if that's a performance put on. Um, but anyways, him and Andrew Scheer, I watched their two videos, calling on the people to sign every petition you can to have our voice heard, because the Liberals were pushing and ramming through the bill without debate. And now this isn't illegal. It's not illegal to do what they did, which they ended up doing. They pushed it through, and it passed through the House. But it's not democratic, and it paints a bad image for the Liberals. And it's funny because, well, it's not funny, but it's ironic that this is a censorship bill, and they're censoring the opposition from having an opinion on it, having a debate on it. So that's where we're standing. So now that it's passed through the House, it goes back to the Senate. And right now, guys, and I'm going to encourage you to do this. Let me see if I can find it real quickly. I have a petition that I want you guys to sign. This was sent to me by my good friend, Mike Mole, who now I put out petitions before, and Mike's the one that says, "Oh, careful, Brandon, don't give those types of people your information." And my position is just, you know what? They already know who I am. I've been mouthing off on the internet for over a year now. I think my enemies know who I am. So I'm not too worried about that. But if you are worried about that, this was sent to me by Mike, the guy who holds me accountable. So let me share this with you. Boom. I think that does it. I just lost it. So here we are again. So this is, tell the Senate, keep the CRTC away from your posts. Now I'm going to drop that link in the comments. Now in the comments, I understand that I don't think it's clickable. Like, I don't think it's a hyperlink that you can actually click, but maybe just screenshot it, or somehow copy and paste it, and paste it into your browser. This is from action.openmedia.org. Okay, so tell the Senate, keep the CRTC away from your posts. So what this will do is, when you input your information, it actually tags, I think, every single senator. if I understand this correctly. When I did it yesterday, and it seemed to highlight every senator. You can make a custom message if you want, but they have a template here for you to send. I just use the template and click send. So I invite you guys to do that. I think that's our only hope right now is the Senate, which they seem to go to bat for us. That's what seemed to happen when they made their amendments and sent it back to the House with that one. For me, that one specific amendment about leaving us alone. That was probably the most important part. So I think this is our last line of defense, sadly. All right, let me back up and I want to make sure I get your guys' comments. Okay, we got that one. Okay, cool. Vikram says the Liberals, the NDP, and Bloc, or is that Bloc, supported the motion Bill C-11 to censor the internet. Pierre Polyev has a petition to sign. Yes, I signed that one as well. So because I know people have problems with the conservatives asking for your information. That's why I didn't. And I shared this one because Mike Mole is my guy. And so I shared that one. But yes, if you want to sign that one as well, go for it. Lynn B says the Grand Turd's new YouTube channel is getting extremely ratioed. LOL. The comments on his videos are priceless. Yeah, now people have expressed to me their concerns of, okay, now that everybody's commenting, they can see people that don't like them, and then they'll be targeted. Again, I don't care. People already know who I am. I think my worst enemies already know who I am, so I'm not too concerned. But yeah, you're right. Well, his YouTube channel is over 1,000 subscribers now. That grew pretty fast. Certainly not like my channel. By the way, if you're not subscribed, which I found out yesterday, 40% of people who watch me aren't subscribed. So get on it, subscribe. Make sure you're subscribed. Vikram says, yes, it's not illegal, but rammed through. Yeah, it's just a bad look. It's just a bad look, especially for a bill about censorship. Because you know what? And this is what I want to talk about, and I'm going to share with you. They sell this as making big tech pay their fair share. That's how they word it. That's the purpose of Bill C-11. They want to make sure that they're paying their fair share. But I found a thread of tweets from this. I think he's a law professor on Twitter, and I want to read to you his point-by-point demolishing of these claims that are made in regards to Bill C-11. So let me share my screen once again. I think I like this one better. Yeah, I like that screen better. Awesome. So let's go on over to Michael Geist. So who is Michael Geist? Let's read about Michael Geist first. Michael Geist is a law professor, CRC in internet and e-commerce law. Awesome. So I just really loved what he had to say. So we're just going to read that. So this is his beginning tweet. I'm going to try to not to click on things because it seems to take me to other pages when I do that. So let me just zoom in. That might be more helpful. He says the actual data that Bill C-11 supporters try to ignore. Record-breaking film and TV production last year in Ontario, with domestic production growing far faster than foreign productions. All right, so this is part 2. Bill C-11 claim number 1. Platforms pay their fair share. The reality is platforms already are amongst the biggest investors in Canadian film TV production. The problem is CanCon rules treat films like Turning Red or Just Kuau, I don't know what that is, as non-Canadian based on ownership. All right, so let's go to tweet number 3. So Bill C-11 claim number 2. Support next generation of Canadian artists. That's what they say, to support next generation of Canadian artists. But the reality is, let me click away here. I don't want to click on nothing. There. I already did. Let me go back. There we go. The reality is the bill may hurt new Canadian artists the most. Many are successful digital creators who risk being harmed by CRTC regulation. Even the Senate was convinced of the problem. And he's putting some of them are his articles and some of them are his sources to back up what he's saying, which is pretty cool. So if you're on Twitter, go check out Michael Geist. I think this is a good breakdown. Bill C-11 claim number 3: create good jobs for Canadians in the cultural sector. When the reality is, the sector has enjoyed huge success in recent years. The largest entertainment workers union told committee streamers slash studios are the largest employer in the sector. So there's the source for that. Let's keep going here. Bill C-11 claim lift up indigenous and diverse voices to tell their stories. I thought this one was funny because the reality is indigenous creators left a meeting with Pablo Rodriguez. He's that head dude that put. I think he was the first one to put forward this bill, Pablo Rodriguez. So indigenous creators left a meeting with this guy or with his staff, feeling gaslit and disrespected. Their concerns with Bill C-11 were dismissed. So he's basically saying, no, they don't care about indigenous people. No. Claim number 5 from Bill C-11: more options for Canadians to watch. And this one, I don't understand how people don't understand this. Because the reality is, like he says, the bill risks the exact opposite. Higher regulatory costs and CanCon demands means that many niche streaming services from around the world may block Canada. Less consumer choice. And that's to me, that's what makes it so confusing. And he used the right word there when talking about the indigenous people. They gaslight you. It's like it's so obvious that it just makes you think that you're the one that's being crazy, but it's just in your face, obvious. Michael Geist says, "So what's the reality?" Okay, so was that the last one? Yeah, so that was number 6. And before I move on, let me catch up to your guys. What are they called? Comments? All right, so where are we? Vikram. Yeah, okay. We're way ahead of that one. Okay, cool. Boom. Yeah, there's my link. Honeycomb says it doesn't matter how many petitions you sign, the government will not listen and still do as they please. Screw all us Canadians. Yeah, well, the intention for me is not to have them read it. That's why I didn't make a custom one. They just need to see people are angry. Like if they don't feel pressure, then they're not going to do nothing. Which I think it actually worked because the Senate before actually proposed amendments last time, amendments that were in our favor that said leave us alone. So let's keep doing it. Let's keep telling them that this is something we care about. And while I'm on that subject, I want to know because like I said, they're selling this as we're standing up for the Canadian artists, so that these big tech platforms have to pay their fair share, and they're standing up for these artists. I haven't heard or seen any artists in support of this bill. Have you guys? Maybe it's just because of the algorithms and, my bias, and I don't know that I don't watch too much liberal commentating, but have you guys seen um, artists, saying yeah, like hooray about this bill? Because I haven't seen that. So when they're talking about we're standing up for artists, and one of Trudeau's, I don't know what his role was, but he was going back and forth with Pierre Poilievre, and I think I'll be sharing that video later. But he shares a data point. He says 71% of Canadians agree that this is needed to protect the artist. Like, what? I don't remember being asked this. Like, who are they asking? Like, that's what I want to know. So it's all very, very interesting. Vikram says, I tried looking for the comments yesterday, turned off. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Lynn B says, when you drop links in the chat box, they are clickable. Oh, cool. That's cool. That's good to know. Well, awesome. Hopefully you guys sign that. Vikram says, we Canadians scare all screwed. I think also RAP Canada. We Canadians are all screwed, I think also. Yeah, let's not talk that way, Vikram. Let's have a positive attitude. Let's, things are frustrating and things, seems like we are up against a wall, but you know what? Christ is still on the throne. God's still in control. Let's stay positive and see what we have to do next. Let's stick together and keep doing the things necessary to win this battle. Guys, My Bible says that good wins in the end, so that's where my hope is. JRK says, ultimately, we have to wait for the next PM to repeal the bill. JT and JS have already indicated that they will do whatever they want until they are gone. Yes, yes, and that obviously that's someone like Pierre Poilievre. He promises to do that, to repeal it. Same with, well, obviously people like Maxime Bernier, because he's ready to just go flush the entire system and just bleed it purple, just pump the purple blood all throughout the uh, Canadian Parliament. But let's talk about that. Pierre Poilievre, he's he's got a dog in the fight for in terms of censorship. Like, he's got a lot to lose if they start censoring him. Just think about the next, coming up to the next election for him. If he's censored, he's a smart guy. He knows that's going to hurt him. So of course, like, he's very fiery, and he's got some really great comebacks and arguments against these. I'm trying to be polite. These undesired political officials. He's got some great, back and forth with them, but it's not this. We can't say that he doesn't have a stake in the game for sure, because affects him directly, 100%. Linby says the only people who support Bill C-11 are those who want full control over we serfs. Yes. Vikram says the hypocrisy of this liberal government is incredible. On a positive note, the liberal world order is quickly being destroyed by truth and human freedom. Yes. And guys, yes, that's so true. I don't know if you guys watched. Do you know the comedian? I think his name's J.P. Sears. Let me look his name up. Yeah, J.P. Sears. I watched a lot of his videos throughout the pandemic because he's just hilarious. He outlined the hypocrisy with the masking and just everything. Hilarious dude. But he just recently made a video. It's a 20-minute video, and at the beginning he says, "Guys, this isn't for comedy." And he just goes into his journey of how he describes himself accidentally becoming more Christian. And it's such a fascinating take on how it seems this woke culture, this hypocrite culture, like Vikram just described, is forcing people to the opposite side of the spectrum. We have evil, people that are just lying, and people that are manipulating, and it's making everybody step back, and it's forcing them to the far other end of this of the spectrum. And it's just a very fascinating video, but it's consistent with what I'm seeing in a lot of people that, in my own life, in my own circle, people that, never, I don't want to say they never showed courage, but they weren't ones to stand up. They weren't ones to really, stand firm, put their feet down on their own personal values. But I'm seeing them do that. And it's inspiring, and sometimes it brings a tear to your eye. But I think that's what Linby just said, is that, well, she said it's a positive note that this liberal world order is quickly being destroyed by truth and human freedom. I think people are starting to sense and understand what true evil is, and they're wanting the alternative to that. And by the way, there's a great song out by Tom MacDonald that is on this subject. There's a few other singers, I can't remember their names, but somebody sent it to me. Really good. I don't even like rap. He's a rapper, but it's a really, really good song. Go check that out, Tom MacDonald. GP says, first of all, welcome to the channel, GP. I don't think I've seen you before. Maybe I have, can't remember. C-11 is very political. You're absolutely right. And I'm going to read the article here once I get caught up here. Lunby says, what I really don't like about Pira is that he supports digital ID and currency. Yeah, that can't. Yeah. Yeah. No, you can't be for that. That's here's the thing. I don't think he'll stand for something until it starts to affect him. So if he has something to gain by supporting digital ID, I think he'll do it. And one thing I think we have to remember, and I'm looking a lot into this. I'm trying to hear different people's perspective. This whole, how are we gonna handle our country? Like, how are we gonna get Trudeau out, first of all? And, what's the way forward? And I was listening to, what's his name? What's his name? Something Up North. That's his YouTube channel. Blanking on it. But he was being interviewed by Clyde Do Something. I think this was probably about a week ago. But he was just talking about, the differences. He used to be a PPC guy. He was all for Max. But he lives in Alberta, but he's saying right now for him, it's because it's coming directly against his livelihood. He said the most important thing right now for him is to get Trudeau out. So, and like right now, I'm not in the oil and gas industry. I do voiceover. I work online. Um, Marty, thank you. Thank you, Lynn B. Yeah, it's Marty Up North. So I understand his point of view. He's saying, yeah, Max is a great guy. He's filled with great morals and pure perspectives, but he's not the leader that we need. And he doesn't see him as being someone who can win and who can bring the changes that we need. With that said, and I was just thinking about this morning, like with Pierre Poilievre, the conservative movement, the Conservative Party, they represent a huge chunk of Canadians in comparison to the PPC. Okay, we have to admit that. It's a huge difference between the two. And with that comes huge differences in opinion, not just on policy, but also, morals and so many other things. Whereas a smaller party, which is more confined, and they are growing, the PPC are growing, and I've said this time and time again, I love their message and I love the people involved. Well, most of the people, because I don't know all of them, but I think when it comes to the Conservatives, you do, as a leader, you do have to be careful because you're representing so many people. Now, I certainly don't agree with some of the decisions that Pierre has done or the things he said or the things he supports, but I'm just trying to step into his shoes, and I'm trying to understand and give people the benefit of the doubt. And I know that makes people uncomfortable and a little bit angry, and I understand that. I understand that as well. But I'm just doing my best at trying to understand both sides. So he's got, as leader of the opposition, that's a huge, huge position. You're representing a lot of people. So if you say one thing over here, you're going to offend this huge portion of people. If you say one thing over here, you're going to offend this big portion of people. Right? That's what I'm trying to say here. That for the first time, I guess this morning, I kind of thought of that aspect where I was just, I had a little bit more compassion for him. But that doesn't mean I'm letting him off the hook for anything. But I'm just letting you guys know that's something that I thought differently about this morning. All right. Vikram says the truth is slowly getting out. It is. That's the great thing about the truth. You don't have to defend it. You can't silence it. It gets out. JP Sears is great. He's hilarious. Yeah, he's very, very funny. I love when he does his yeah, I won't read that out loud, but yeah, he's very funny. JRK says we know that all things, even the bad, will be used for God's purpose. Let's encourage each other. We have much to look forward to. Yes, exactly. That's exactly my attitude. Vikram Singh says, the end of the world with Tom McDonald is epic, exposing the New World Order agenda and more. Trump tweeted about it, supporting the truth. Yeah, such a good songwriter and artist. So good. So good. Awesome. Fighting Hate 2.0. If not Max, then who? Yeah, well, it depends on who you're asking. Like if you're asking Marty from Marty Up North, his channel, he's saying his priorities, since what's happening is coming against him personally. and where he's at in the context of what surrounds him, he said the only thing that matters, regardless of what other complaints we have against Pierre, is to get rid of Trudeau. He said, and we won't get rid of Trudeau by going max. And that's what he's saying. So it depends on who you're asking. And I certainly understand the PPC point of view, saying we can't put the same person in. And I remember saying, like during the trucker convoy, because slowly after the trucker convoy, you kind of had to, as a YouTuber, you kind of had to start talking more about, like the policy side of things and who were electing into Parliament, because the trucker convoy was basically non-existent once the Emergencies Act was enacted. And I remember saying that I'm blanking on what we were talking about. Dang it. I get going with too many stories here. If not Max, what were you talking? If not Max, then who? Oh, yes, I remember. I remember approaching it in the way that maybe this is a multi-step process, that maybe we just need to get him out first and then deal with the corruption in the Conservative Party later. And people don't like it when you say that, because they're like, no, you can't do that. You got to do it in one blow. One blow, take the corruption out. But is that how huge systems like that? Because I think we don't understand how huge and how deep these political parties run, especially these two top ones, the Liberals and the Conservatives. It represents a lot of people. Now, I think the Liberals have lost their popularity through all the scandals and everything that's been going on. But with Canada having a huge population of baby boomers, that's a very large portion of people that we're expecting to just jump, right? Jump from one extreme to the other, because that is extreme for them. People that have voted Conservative their entire lives and they're not really into politics. I don't have all the answers. I'm just kind of speaking out loud. JRK says, on the lighter side, check out the new skit on YouTube by John Julian called I'm Justin Trudeau. Humor truly helps. It's fantastic. Yeah, you got to have humor. You got to have a sense of humor. Limby says, as long as I can recall, the Libs and Cons have been our only choices for election. Together, they make up Canada's uniparty. They are mirror images of one another, unfortunately. Yeah. Please remember to like this video to feed the algorithms and then share it out to help grow the channel. Thanks for your help. Yeah, guys, especially in light of Bill C-11, if my videos stop being recommended by people, recommended by the algorithm, then I think my channel will just tank. So I'm really relying on you guys subscribing, sharing, all that stuff. Because yeah, I forget what the percentage is, but when I look at my analytics, it says my viewers, they find my channel by recommendations. And I think it was like something like 60%. So that's huge. So if my videos are right now being suggested to people, we need to take advantage of that and just light it up, folks. Not for my sake, but for our sake, so that we can still have conservative and populist voices in the fight. Where are we? Here we are. Terry O'Malley. Pierre is the only realistic option. He has to appeal to a broad range of voters. Therefore, he can't just pander to the far-right extremists like the POC does. Yeah. Now, I wouldn't call them far-right extremists, but I know what you're saying. For sure. Yep. Vikram Singh says, yes, Limby, we are being played right to our graves. I believe we are just holding ground for souls for these higher entities, and the rich see us as resource slaves. Leaf Nurse says, late, I'll have to go back and watch beginning. Well, welcome to the stream, Leaf Nurse. Great to have you. We need to break free of the matrix we are in. Leaf Nurse says, you take corruption out starting at the bottom, not the top. You need to start fixing things locally. Key. Yes, respect right there. Yeah, that's why if you're not involved locally, that's 100% correct. Linby says, resource slaves is the perfect description of how these so-called elites view us. Meant PPC. Gotcha. PPC is not far right. They are libertarians. They believe in smaller government and more freedom for the people. Yeah. Well, I think anybody who just doesn't care about being censored and like anybody that goes after the media, I think they're labeled as extremists. I think that's what our culture has adopted. But I don't fall for it. I don't label people that, but I know what he was referring to. Put it that way. Right on. You guys are just chatting. Cool. All right. So what I wanted to share with you, let me just take a look at my notes before I just don't want to get too ahead of myself here. Oh yeah. Okay. So yeah, I sent you guys the petition and I had the last tweet of Michael Geist to share with you. It looks like he writes a lot of articles, so I'll share with you. Oh, I went a little too far there. All right, so this was the last one. He said his conclusion tweet. So what's the reality? Experts, the Senate, former CRTC chair all agree Bill C-11 still includes the potential to regulate user content. The Senate proposed a fix. At Pablo Rodriguez rejected it. Why? Because retaining the power to regulate is the goal. And so I wanted to just read a little bit of his article here. I won't spend too much time. It's pretty big, but you guys can check that out. That's michaelgeist.ca, I believe. So government rejection of key Senate Bill C-11 amendment reveals its true intent, retain power to regulate user content. Let me blow this up a bit. For more than a year, Canadian Heritage Minister Pablo Rodriguez has clung to the Bill C-11 mantra of platforms in, users out. When presented with clear evidence from thousands of digital creators, the former chair of the CRTC and numerous experts that wasn't true. The Senate passed compromise language to ensure that platforms such as YouTube would be caught by the legislation consistent with the government's stated objective, but that user content would not. Last night, Rodriguez rejected the compromise amendment, turning his back on digital creators and a Senate process lauded as one of the most comprehensive ever. In doing so, he left no doubt about the government's true intent with Bill C-11, retain power and flexibility to regulate user content. Okay, that's what I wanted to read. It's just a good read, so check that out at michaelgeist.ca. Cool. All right, so that's it for Bill C-11. Let's pivot here. Thank you guys for joining me, by the way. I know it says there's only 8 people here, but that's okay. If you haven't yet shared this out to your friends and family, I'll be going here for probably another 45 minutes or so. We got a couple more things to talk about. Yeah, you guys got the petition, so we're good there. Just wanted to make sure I got that to you. So let's talk briefly. Now, I'm not a money guy. I'm not a financial wizard, but let's talk about the 2023 federal budget. What's your guys' take on it? Have you looked at it? I have a few things that I want to read, and kind of my overall understanding, limited understanding, but I want to get a download of what you guys think and how you feel about what was approved just last week. Leafner says conservatives are liberals in a blue tie. At this point, the only thing PP disagrees with JT on is the carbon tax. He supports every other thing JT has put in or wants to. Let me know what you guys think. How many conservative MPs do you think exist, like in Parliament, that aren't corrupt, but they just don't have a spine, that they're just intimidated way too easily? How many do you think I don't know how many have a seat. I can't remember the number. But in your opinion, is it a lot of them? Is it a few of them, or are they just all corrupt? What's your opinion? Limby says, as to the budget I've seen so far, is that the government continues to want to spend our money like there's no bottom. Terry says, budget is just more wasteful lib spending by buying voters with their own money. I guess there was nothing in budget to address lockdown harms. That's a good point. All right, let's get into this. Valerie says the budget is for our government to spend our money outside of Canada. Yeah. All right, let me close all stuff I don't need. I don't need that. Don't need that. We talked about that. All right, so this is CBC. I don't trust them as far as I can throw a stick, but highlights from the 2023 federal budget. Budget is targeting three main areas: healthcare, dental, affordability, and clean economy. Yeah, clean economy. All right, so the 2023 federal budget is proposing spending to make life more affordable, encourage investments in green energy, provide improved healthcare services, and roll out the next stage of the federal dental care program. Now, it's just my bias, but every time I hear about green energy and just knowing how much trouble we're in as a country, first of all, I think the whole green energy and attempt and efforts to make our country greener is just a giant hoax. So that's my initial reaction. It's just an eye roll for me. It's just like, "Ugh, really?" I mean, the healthcare side of it, dental. I've said my entire life that, it'd be awesome if dental was covered by OHIP, because it was always the types of jobs that I was in the trades, they never provided dental. It was like, because it was private sector that I worked in. I worked for just small private companies, and a lot of them didn't offer benefits. So I was always having to fork out. And I remember always thinking, man, it would be just so helpful if it was a part of our OHIP, which is, what does that stand for? Ontario Health something, um, insurance plan. Sorry. So I think it's a good thing, and people are for sure going to love this. And I think the threshold is you have to make less than 90,000 a year to qualify. Um, but we're in trouble. We're in trouble as a country. We can't afford this. So like, yeah, awesome. You got a brand new Ferrari, but you're only making $500 a month. Like that's immediately what I think about. Like, sure, you're gonna get people excited, but these unsuspecting people don't realize that when they take this, that is what's causing our uh, inflation to get worse. That's what's causing the cost of living to just skyrocket even more. So it's just like what you guys have been saying, just irresponsible liberal spending, with this bottomless um, piggy bank with no regard for the future. And it's sickening watching them justify it. And yeah, this is definitely them just trying to earn more votes, which is it's so sad. I mean, my wife isn't into politics. She hears me talk about it in the house, and she's busy raising my son, but when I sent her, I just sent her a screenshot of what the NDP, coalescing with the Liberal Party, desired for, kids under 12 getting, uh, what do you call it, dental coverage. And she's like, "Oh, that's pretty cool." But then I started explaining. I said, "Yeah, it is pretty cool. Like, that's awesome that families are getting help." I said, "But," and I explained. I said, "This is what unsuspecting people like you," and it wasn't to offend her, and she understood that. Um, it's bait. It's literally bait, and you're going to get, as a country, we're going to get hooked. So there's just too many unsuspecting people. Um, that fall for it, and they vote accordingly, and they just don't see any problems with it. So yeah, that's CBC. What are you guys saying? Are you mad yet? I don't like to leave you guys for too long. Excuse me. Oh, you guys still fighting over the PPC versus conservatives? Leafner says PP only fights things that he thinks will be good media op, like his fighting C-11. It's all optics for him. He's voted multiple times for SDG, yet says he doesn't know what they are. 100% wrong. Conservatives voted against the budget, Bill C-11, and many other bills. It's just a lazy cop-out to say that they're the same as the libs. Yeah, well, my opinion, I don't know if to me that sounds like I'm insulting people when I say this. It's lazy, but it's definitely painting them with a broad brush when there's more things to consider. That's why I asked, and I'll probably see your guys' comments about how many do you think are actually corrupt, or is it just a matter of people that are incompetent, or people that are just don't have a spine, or they don't know how to handle themselves in a political, like a polarized political atmosphere? Because guys, the polarization has skyrocketed over just the last 3 years. So people that were in these cozy MP jobs, just kind of maintaining the status quo, all of a sudden they're thrust into this spectrum of populists making a stink, and now NDPs, and with the scandals going on with the Liberal Party, I don't know if a lot of them were ready for that. They're just, maybe they're not built that way, because I know a lot of people that their brains can't compute pressure. They can't compute what's the word? Not resistance, but pressure. So a lot of things to consider, I think. Limby says, right, PP is all about him getting elected, regardless of how many people he screws in the process. Vikram says, either side is guilty of wasting people's taxes and mismanagement, liberals or conservatives. Now, this is part of what I was thinking this morning as well. Right now, like, we don't like the liberals because they always have an agenda, okay? But if we were to put the conservatives in, they would also have an agenda. That's just like the nature of the two dominating parties. They're going to have the things that they want put forward and legislated and made into policy. That's how it works. Whereas the PPC wants to go in and fight for the people. So this side, is that a bad thing? Is having an agenda a bad thing? Is there agendas that the conservatives would present that we would agree with? Like making sure drag queen story hours stays out of the public sector? Like, would we agree with that agenda? Because that's what the liberals would label as a conservative agenda. Would we align ourselves with many of them? So that's why I think this is more complex than just, broad brush painting conservatives as liberals. I think their biggest problem is they're spineless. There's a lot of spineless people, whereas the liberals are just evil. I think that's the difference. Vikram says, either side is guilty of wasting people's tax and mismanagement, liberals or conservatives. Yeah. Yep. Green energy is a hoax. Say goodbye to YouTube. Stop that. Stop that. I don't know if that's one of their rules. I don't think that's one of their, but again, they kind of make them up as they go. Now you got me nervous. Fighting hate 2.0. Translation: the dental plan comes out of the pockets of taxpayers who earn more than $90,000 a year. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's screwing over the middle class, and they don't get to partake in it. So it's like, awesome. Not awesome. Terry says, PP is a smart politician. He knows how to play the game. It's useless to stand on principle if you never gain power to implement those principles. Look at the NDP all these years. Yep, I've explored that argument. Yeah, it's legitimate. It's a legitimate argument. Leifner says most of cons either spineless or cater to the party. Leslyn Lewis is the only one I have recently seen actually speak out and stick to her true values and not toe the party line. That's true. Been hearing a lot of good things about Leslyn Lewis. That's a good point. Good point. Dental coverage with restrictions, I bet. Dental coverage is probably basic minimum. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, you have to make under 90,000 a year. If you don't have party unity, you'll never form government. All right. Every political party has an agenda. Yep. Depending on agenda, selfish for Canadians. Yeah. So depending on agenda, selfish or for Canadians. Now, I think that's probably impossible to do something just for Canadians, especially if you're a paid representative. That's a hard question. That's a hard question. I just bring the good questions here to kind of roll over in your mind. I don't have a lot of the answers, but it's a good thing to think about. It's unavoidable that parties have an agenda. Mm-hmm. Yep. Tolling party lines is how the country got into this mess. Nobody stood up for what they truly believed, just went along to get along, and has gotten worse with every decade over the last 40 years. Well, yeah, that's right, Leaf Nurse. And now I won't say his name because I actually respect him a lot. He's a YouTuber. He came out with a video just last night talking about how he's finally going to speak up against the woke crowd. And he said he feels a lot of people are scared to speak up, but I don't understand the fear. Now, well, it's maybe because I'm self-employed and I work from home and I don't have to worry about having my job taken for speaking my opinions. So I guess there's a layer of fear there for people. But he was just talking about how now's the time to just tell this woke crowd, which is I think it's like the root of our problems, this woke agenda. And there's just, referencing JP Sears and a lot of the people, a lot of comedians, like even Joe Rogan. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to Joe Rogan, but a lot of the guests he's been having on talking openly about God and Christianity and kind of talking about things on the right side of the spectrum in regards to the cultural mess that we're in. He seems to be a lot like he'll make fun of Christianity, but I think there's a lot of people starting to tune in and to starting to recognize that we need these values because it's the antidote to this wokeness. But this particular person's video was interesting because I just thought, you know what? Why is there fear? Is it just because we don't want to lose our jobs? Because like I don't remember ever being fearful. Even when I worked in the trades, I was very I wasn't disrespectful to anybody, but I would, proactively go out there and share things, my thoughts, because I'm a writer as well. So I would write these little articles, and even on my Facebook status, I would give my opinions on certain things, and I was very outspoken about things, and I was never scared to share it. I wasn't worried about losing my job, but maybe that's something we all need to. Now, I know most of you in this chat are like freedom-loving Canadians that did stand up, so I applaud you guys, obviously. But I just don't understand the fear. I just don't understand it, especially when there's so much on the line, right? What's the Bible verse that says, "Perfect love casts out all fear"? So, like for me, if I love my kids and I want to see their future sustained, I'm going to act. I'm acting out of love. So the more love you have, the more motivation you're going to have. Tolling party lines is how the country got into the mess. Nobody stood up for what they built. Oh, yeah, we just read that one. Thank you, Leaf Nurse. Valerie says, great point, Lynn B. You guys are chatting. To be honest, I don't like anyone. None of the parties actually will do what is best for Canada. Go back, look at what the Harper government implemented. I think that's exactly right, Leaf Nurse. We're not going to like anybody 100%. There's always going to be something to complain about, or someone that we want removed, or someone, it's always going to have a problem to it. So is it worth sorting through the bad ones on the conservative side because we know they can win? Let's be honest. We know they can win. I do. So let's talk about confidence spectrums. Like, my confidence spectrum is like 80%, 80, 90% that the conservatives can win. Whereas my confidence spectrum on PPC, it's about 40, 50%. Like, that's how not confident I am, if I'm being completely honest. Right. So that's kind of what I'm getting at is it worth mucking through another battle? Are we at least one step closer to where we want to be? And isn't that the nature of being involved in politics, to always be on, like, truly, the people of Canada should be the opposition party. We should always be holding our people to account, our representatives to account. So if that's the nature, then is it so bad that we deal with conservatives and just go through the muck until we get closer and closer to that to that golden moment that I think we're all expecting? I think a lot of people expect that we're just going to have Jesus sitting in Parliament and making policy. I think that's what we expect from people. And that's with every country, even in the States. They're always looking for this perfect representation, but I don't think it exists. We're broken human beings. We're selfish by nature. I don't think people are good by nature. That's something that's taught. You don't have to teach your kids to be naughty. You have to teach them to be behaved. All right, you guys are chatting. Right on. Time is flying here, guys. Sorry about that. I've been able to get to the actual content, but that's all right. Harper was the greatest PM Canada has seen for the last half century. Yeah, well, and I'm sure Terry would admit that he wasn't perfect. Nobody's ever going to be perfect, but you can measure what he did right against what he did wrong and decide, was he good? Was he worth it? And is that something we can do? Right? I'm just trying to be practical. I apologize if I'm ruffling feathers with anybody. I don't mean to. Valerie says the woke agenda seems to be self-gratifying. There's no widespread consensus of the national interest when 65% of Canadians vote for woke leftists and 35% vote for the center-right. That's a good point. Good point. He also signed us on to Agenda 2030, the SDG. He is a globalist too. Yes, I know it was JT that ultimately signed the fund of this. Now, Agenda 20, I talk a lot about this with Agenda 2030. It didn't show its ugly head until recent years. Like, when they started saying the crazy stuff, that wasn't always out in the public. And there was, I think, a lot of people caught in the crosshairs, people like in 2012 showing up on their board members list. But 2012, the organization, like the Davos crowd, what is it, WEF, the World Economic Forum, they didn't necessarily show their crazy side until recent years. And I think it's because they saw an opportunity and try to, well, here's the thing. I think they had ideas. They had the plan for this global takeover, and they were just being inconspicuous and sneaky about it, making it look all pretty and good, which I think a lot of people fell for. And that's what I'm getting at. But I think their struggle was they didn't see it realistic with the timeline. They didn't know how they were going to completely transform everybody's thinking so fast. So that's why the pandemic came about, and bing, bang, boom, I think it was just a fast tracking of their agenda, and that's why the crazy showed so abruptly and in your face because, they had to speed things up. So all that to say, I give people the benefit of the doubt if they were a part of Agenda 2030 and they didn't know any better. Like I said, maybe they're just spineless or maybe they're just dumb, right? Could be. I just wanna be fair, right? I just don't wanna rule off everybody as evil when it could not be the case. That's so true. The people need to oh, sorry. Pierre also supports trans rights and men sporting women face. See, I'll have to look into that 'cause I haven't honestly haven't heard him talk about that, but, I'll make sure I look into that. Vikram says, "That's so true. The people need to have more say in decision making in their lives." For the PPC to, have even a slim chance of forming government, you'd have to eliminate all voters in Toronto, Montreal, and Vancouver. 13 million people. Numbers don't lie, do they? Atlan B. Okay, you guys are chatting right on. I might have to, because I can't keep up with you guys, which is wonderful. Thank you guys so much once again for being on the chat. But let's get into the next part of this because there's a few videos I wanted to play for you. All right. Well, yeah, let's just kind of share the federal budget video from Global News. I thought they kind of broke it down pretty simply and easily. So where's that? Right here? Huh. You think? Hmm. We've been living beyond our means. That's well said. That is well said. Oh, really? Was there no sound? Oh, sorry, guys. That's weird though, because it's supposed to. All right, let me do a little piece of it again and let me know if you can hear it. That's strange because that's. Hmm. One moment, please. While I find that again. All right, there we go. Maybe YouTube isn't hooked up, which is strange. Here, let me try it this way. Boom. Share screen. Let me know if you guys can hear this.
The Liberals had to walk a political and fiscal tightrope with this year's budget, spend enough to get people excited and clinch continuing NDP support without overly complicating the Bank of Canada's battle against inflation. No easy feat, says economic expert Alicia McDonald.
The government did manage to kind of thread the needle and walk that fine line.
Many analysts say this budget will stoke inflation due to big ticket spending on health and dental care, the green economy, and a so-called grocery rebate.
This was a big spending, big deficit budget.
This budget also offers a slew of consumer-focused measures that don't come with a big price tag. A crackdown on so-called junk fees, those extra hidden costs on concert tickets and airline baggage, plans to implement standard charging ports for electronic devices, as well as a right to repair framework to cut down on e-waste and hassle. Bottom line, will it thwart the central bank's quest to bring inflation down closer to its 2% target? Most experts say not likely.
We don't think that the budget will add significantly to inflationary pressure in Canada.
I don't think it's so significant that the Bank of Canada is going to resume raising interest rates because of this.
And yet, financial counselor Pamela George says the measures don't meaningfully improve affordability.
I was expecting a little more and not expecting things like we are going to work on this or we're hoping to fix this.
With deficits projected for the next 5 years, while the cost of borrowing is elevated, economist Craig Alexander worries about what that will cost us in the future.
That's going to be, $50 billion of interest that isn't going into education. It isn't going into healthcare. It isn't going into other key priorities that the country has. And it's because we've been living beyond our means.
Anne Gaviola, Global News, Toronto.
There we go. Yeah, it was just a different way that I shared it, so it didn't share the audio. Sorry about that. But, well said. He said we're spending beyond our means, and that's the bottom line. We don't have the money. Why are we spending it? Right on. So that is what I wanted to play for that. And I think what it just comes down to, just to beat a dead horse here. We don't have the money. Let's stop spending it. Let's stop printing it. And secondly, we need some competent leaders. Justin Trudeau, Chrystia Freeland, who has no education or no education in finance, trying to run a corporation. That's what Canada is. It's a corporation, and they just don't have the. And I don't mean to be insulting. They don't have the brains to do it. I mean, I don't have the brains to do it, but we need somebody who does. There's a question to ask yourself. Does Max have the brains to do better compared to Pierre Poilievre? Just questions, right? Just questions. Now, I think he could take a good stab at it, and I think Max would be good at taking advice from people, but that in itself is hard. Finding people that you trust to bring into your circle that's what Donald Trump was really good at bringing in people that he trusted. He did make a lot of mistakes with some of the people he let into his circles, but he seemed to be really good at certain points about the people he took advice from. I'm not talking about the pandemic. I'm talking about in terms of policy and doing great things for the economy in the United States. But yeah. Let me read this. First of all, that's hilarious. Fighting Hate 2.0. He says, blaming YouTube, strike number 2. You're right. You're right. Terry says, nice. If you can afford to go to a concert or take a flight, but millions of Canadians can't. That's true. Yeah. What about the military? Trudeau promised Biden and NATO that Canada would spend 2% of our GDP on defense, and there's virtually nothing in the budget about the military. Brandon, do yourself a disservice when you say you don't have the brains to run Canada. I trust you over career politicians any day of the week. Well, thank you, Lynn, but I'm not good at math. Let's put it that way. Um, yeah, I'm a tradesman. Would you want a tradesman running this country? You know what? I think what I would be good at is not being a pushover. And someone like Max, he's not a pushover. He's not. Um, I think he's again, I don't want to be the ageist. He's old. How old is Max? You guys know his age? He's he needs to learn how to appeal to the younger generation, that's for sure, because I'm pretty sure he's not reaching them. And this was told to him by Mr. Sunshine Baby that he needs to do better at marketing to young kids and capture. He needs to capture people's hearts and minds the way Pierre is. Like Pierre, that's what he's good at. He knows the political game, and he knows that he needs to touch people's emotional chords. Like when he talks about young people having to live in mom's basement because they can't afford a house and having to choose between heating their home and eating, he's striking people's emotional chords. Now, I don't know if Max can think on his feet like that. I could be wrong. I don't know him personally, and I haven't seen him enough in action to posture himself the way that a polished politician does. But those things are important. Those things are important. Max is 59 years old. Okay. He's old. He's so old. Just kidding. Well, I'm turning 32 in a couple of weeks. Is that old? I'm losing my hair here, folks. I think that's a sign of old age. And my ankles crack for no reason. I'm just trying to sneak up the stairs. My son's sleeping. Crack. What's that all about? I don't understand it. Vikram says, I would like to see an honest, hardworking, logical person running this country. Is that too much to ask for? Yeah, and I had this thought as we were watching that global news video, like thinking how the political realm is not a place to expect perfection. It's not. Maybe in like Sarnia, our local city councils where we are literally voting in our neighbors, that's a little more achievable. But because we live in a huge country with there's so much to it, so many tentacles in the political sphere, it's just so. And we already talked about this. We can't find the perfect candidate. We can't find the perfect party. There's always going to be problems, and it's this constant balancing act of, did they accomplish more evil or more good? With the Trudeau government over the last, how long have they been in office? I just know it's been too long. The evil has just stacked up and, broken the scale in that regard. And I think to a lot of people who even voted for him, they recognize that. So, well, thank you guys. A lot of you are saying you would trust a tradesman over a career politician anyway as well. Well, yeah. Well, and that's what I'm saying. It's trust is one thing, but I don't have the skills to get us to where we need to be. Some of these guys are, I don't know how, I'm having trouble articulating what I'm trying to say, but hopefully you know what I mean. How the political sphere, it's different, and that's what I'm starting to learn, is that it's just so different than what we expect. Like, yeah. Anyways, sorry guys. This is the first time I'm trying to think this through. Leaf, yeah, right on. Vikram says, I would trust a tradesman. Yeah, we already read that. Thank you, sir. Right. All that politicians know is how to manipulate people. Tradesmen know how to actually work and to be one of the people. Yes. Well, here's what I'll say. Like, a lot of you know Brooke Day. What I loved about him is, first of all, his experience in knowing what it's like to kind of be inside the minds of how these politicians operate. He's been in the same room of some of these mucky muck politicians and people of power and influence, and he got to really understand how they operate. And so that's why I got behind Brooke the way I did at the municipal level. I think he's got the guts and the know-how to pursue an even higher position, which I've told him. But we need people like that, people who have good hearts, but they know how to play the game. They see how the game's played, and they know where to act and where to not react. I don't know if that makes sense, but there's a certain skill to it, and there's a certain experience level to it, and that's what I lack. I would probably get taken advantage of, put it that way, by just not being just being naive, right? So we need people who wouldn't be naive and would know where to watch their own back. Time to change the political sphere. We need to change the system. The system has failed Canadians and continue to fail Canadians. Yes. We all need political seats filled with Canadian patriots rather than career politicians. They will see real change. That would be wonderful. Problem is, an honest, logical tradesman wouldn't want to enter politics and couldn't stomach all the politicking and niceties he'd have to okay along with. That's what I mean. There's, I think one of the most popular things is there is trades that go on. So someone who you would think is very admirable and honest and all that, in order to get something that he feels is right, he has to trade that by going along with something that he is probably a little bit against his conscience. And that's kind of what goes on behind these back doors. And yeah, I don't want to be a politician. I don't. I'm speculating the idea of running for city council one day, maybe in the future, but I just, no. It's a hard position to live in, that's for sure. Yeah, right on. All right, so what else we got here? Okay, we're done talking about the budget. We're done. That's depressing. Oh, man. I just looked at the next part. Speaking of depressing, Nashville shooting. So, you've all heard of this Nashville shooting. This happened last week. It was the Monday. We woke up to some terrible news. I woke up on Tuesday hearing about it. The shooter that went in Nashville, this Christian school, and fired on 6 individuals. 3 of them were young kids. 3 of them were faculty members. The kids were like 9 years old. I think they were all 9 years old. I'm thinking, actually, no. One was 8 years old, and the other were 9 and 9. And one of the 9-year-olds ended up being the pastor's daughter, which is just, I mean, the whole situation is just horrible. But I've been monitoring because, well, obviously, I just kind of want to know how people react to this. I want to believe that people react in appropriate ways, but that hasn't been the case. Because, and I wrote we'll call it an article for my local Facebook page, because we have people that represent the LGBTQ community here with programs, and there's an organization called Diversity Ed. And I don't even want to, I shouldn't even said it. I don't want to give them any platform, because they're just honestly how they've treated me over very innocent things is just horrible. But there's this dangerous ideology, I feel, that's foisted on young people and people in these communities, these minority communities that struggle with their identity or their sexual preference. There's this idea that because we disagree with you morally, like, I don't care. I don't care to make policy that infringes on your right to do what you want. Whatever you want to do in your own house. That's what I've always said. But just because I disagree with it personally, that doesn't mean I want to see you killed. That doesn't mean I want to see violence being thrust towards you. That's not what that means. And I had this local, I'll call her a leader because that's what she is. She spearheads this organization and they get involved with businesses, and the mayor just gave her an award. He's got a list of people that he gives awards, and she was on there. And I brought up this screenshot because it came to mind after all this that went down this week with this shooting. She accused me and a few others of, because of what we believe and how we express ourselves, or how we articulate our positions, that is what causes shootings. This is because a few months ago there was a shooting on, I can't remember what one she was referring to, but she was blaming people like me. So I took a screenshot of that and I posted that this morning. I said, this dangerous ideology of saying that disagreement equals dead people, that is extremely dangerous in of itself. Because, and I don't ever talk about this subject without saying, I don't hate anybody. I don't wish violence on anybody. And in fact, I want to, if it ever came to their rights being trampled on, I would protest with them, because I think people have the right to do what they want. If they're being infringed, I would stand with them. That's my attitude. So there's it's just sad. Let's get into this. So I'll share my screen again. I think this is mostly articles. I'll have to remember to share a different screen if I want to play a video, but this is what let's close this. All right, so let's read this. This is from Sky News. National school shooting, what we know about killer Audrey Hale. The attacker, who killed 6 people at a Nashville school, had reportedly warned a friend that something bad was about to happen minutes before the massacre. Audrey Hale, who identified as a transgender man and was a former student at the private Christian school in Tennessee, was shot dead by police after the killing spree. Averianna Patton said that 28-year-old sent her Instagram messages in which they talked about not wanting to live anymore, and said that their family did not know what they were about to do. Now they're using their pronouns, they. Okay. In the first message, Hale signed it as Audrey Aiden. Mrs. Patton said she saw the messages at 9:57 a.m. on Monday, less than 20 minutes before police said they were told about an attack at the Covenant School. Miss Patton tried to be supportive, according to screenshots of the social media conversation. In their last message, Hale said that something bad was about to happen and asked for forgiveness. Miss Patton was a former basketball teammate of Hale's at Isaiah T. Creswell Middle School. Miss Patton said the messages were alarming and called a suicide prevention hotline, but it was too late to stop Hale killing 3 students aged 9 and 3 adults, including the head teacher. I'm trying to still understand, just to learn that I received a message before. It's just like, wow, Miss Patton told NBC. Just pray, just pray. All right, some notes here. Hale was receiving care from the doctor for emotional disorder. Did Hale plan other attacks? Mr. Drake said the manifesto indicated Hale planned to carry out additional shootings at other locations. Police revealed Hale had drawn a detailed map of the school, which included potential entry points, and had planned surveillance before killing their victims. Officers received reports of the attack at 10:13 a.m. on Monday. In response to the shootings, 2 officers opened fire and fatally shot Hale at 10:27 a.m. The killer had entered the building by shooting through glass doors before carrying out the attacks. Now, Now, I want to share this with you. This is the actual press conference. It's pretty long. This is on YouTube. You can just type that in, watch Nashville school shooting police press conference full. This is at minute 8. I believe it was 8:40, so I'll back it up just a couple seconds. The reporter asked the questions, was there other targets? So this is interesting. So did you catch that? The suspect, the shooter, decided not to go to another school because they had too much security. So these people that are yapping about guns. Now, I don't own a gun. I'm Canadian. I just never own guns. I don't go hunting. I never leave my home very often because I work from home. But this isn't a gun issue. It was a legal firearm that she owned. And it says, and I reported on this a couple of days ago. By the way, when I reported on this initially, the news was confused with her gender, which I got confused, and I called her a biological man that transitioned to a woman. But then I later discovered it was a woman that transitioned to be a man. So, just for clarity, that's to me, it doesn't really matter. It's still awful. The human being is pretty despicable, regardless. But anyway, this to me just has nothing to do about a stricter gun regulation or law wouldn't have prevented this. Put it this way, because she got her guns in October of 2020, and I would assume that was before she transitioned. So was there a detection of mental illness around that time? Probably not. Probably not. It seems like this is more of a recent, because it says she was, how did they word that? Oh, where'd it go? Hale was receiving care from doctor. Yeah, Hale was receiving care from doctor for emotional disorder. Is there any more details on that? Hale was under a doctor's care for an undisclosed emotional disorder at the time of the shooting spree. Okay, so that sounded like it was something just recent before the shooting, but October 2020 is when she obtained the weapons, of which her parents thought she had sold and got rid of, but she kept. So people that argue saying that, oh, there needs to be stricter gun laws. No, because she passed it with flying colors because she seemed to be okay in October of 2020, but now she's not, and she has guns. So, yeah, I wanted to point that out. That just the fact that she didn't go to another school because they had heavy security, that tells you everything you need to know. You need to have security at these schools. All right, let's yeah, so that's that. So I want to talk about the media response to this, which is pretty, in my opinion, very disgusting. It's very disgusting. And I mean, for me, I would have rather this woke crowd stayed silent on this issue. I'd rather them stayed silent than what they're doing. Because this was reported. I can't remember what day last week, but this is from the New York Post. NBC freelance reporter ripped for linking Nashville shooting to Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire. Okay, so this guy, let's just read this. A freelancer for NBC News has blasted. Oh, let me make this bigger because I can't read tiny things. There we go. A freelancer for NBC News was blasted over a since-deleted tweet in which he appears to link the mass shooting at a Christian school in Nashville with the conservative media outlet The Daily Wire and its star commentators Ben Shapiro and Matt Walsh. Benjamin Ryan, a health and science reporter whose bylines also have appeared in the New York Times, Reuters, the Washington Post, and other outlets, posted a tweet on Monday in the aftermath of the shooting that left 6 people dead, among them 3 children, at the Covenant School in Nashville. The shooter who was identified as transgender woman, Audrey Elizabeth Hale, was killed by responding officers. Ryan appears to imply in his tweet that Hale, a Nashville resident, was motivated to carry out the mass shooting due to the fact that the city is also where the Daily Wire is headquartered. NBC has ID'd the Nashville school shooter as Audrey Hale, 28, who identifies as transgender and had no previous criminal record, Ryan tweeted on Monday. Ryan continued, Nashville is home to the Daily Wire, a hub of anti-trans activity by Matt Walsh and Ben Shapiro and Michael Knowles. So that's his tweet right there. It's been since deleted. But this is where people's mindsets are. They're blaming people who disagree. And by the way, I watch Matt Walsh, I watch Ben Shapiro and Michael Knowles. I haven't heard them calling people to violence. I haven't heard them condoning hatred. What I hear from them is very, at times, blunt opinions based on what they believe is factual. That doesn't equal violence. That doesn't equal hatred. That doesn't equal instigating school shootings like this. There's this narrative that is being perpetrated by these people, and even this person locally that came after me and a few others. They are dangerously weaving this narrative that trans people, that the people of the LGBTQ community are being hunted by us, and we are the people to be feared. This is what they're instilling in these people. And what do you think that's going to do, especially with people who are having mental struggles, people that aren't comfortable in their own skin and having these anyway, I don't mean to be Joe Biden being taking mental pauses here and then, but it's aggravating, and it's sad. That's what it really is. And ultimately it's gaslighting, because they're blaming you for what they're guilty of. That's what they always do. To me, that's like that's the definition of gaslighting. And it's gross. So yeah, I'm at a local level, I'm making a stink about it. I'm holding her to account. And sorry, guys, I've been ignoring your messages. Let me get to you. So sorry, you guys have been chatting away here. Trade-offs and compromising an essential aspect of politics. Yes, that's what I was getting at. Thank you, Terry. Exactly, Limby. We need to change it as soon as possible. We are taken for idiots. I can't speak today. Invited to a fixed poker game. Yep. We need a full clean sweep and redo of Canadian politics. Remove the antiquated British-style parliament and sever all foreign ties, including the crown. It's the only way to have sovereignty. Yeah. Everyone talks a good talk about changing the system. Exactly how are you going to do that? Be specific. Yeah, well, see, that's the thing. I agree with all these super long-term goals. Like, that'd be great to get there one day. But Terry, what I'm taking from you is that you're a realist, that you're, come on, guys, let's talk about things we can actually achieve. Let's not put 10,000 things on our to-do list today. Like, let's make it achievable. So that's what I respect about you, Terry. Vikram says, erase and restart the current system which is corrupted and dysfunctional. Too much unrealistic idealism and too little practical knowledge in the chat. No, that's okay though. That's okay. People are just getting their feelings out there and their ideas. So this type of stuff is helpful. So just be patient with people. That's all I ask. Just be patient, because everybody's got legitimate complaints and points. Terry says, I'm sick and tired of hearing about trans this and trans that. Enough. Hey, you and me both. That's the point. I want them to just keep it in their own house. Stop putting it in our face. Stop trying to get into our public sector and make us fund these drag queen story hours. Now, that's not trans. It's mostly homosexuals that do that. But specifically us getting the blame for these people getting murdered. That's not right. That's not right. And well, creating and stirring up a fear that's false. That's not right either, because it's going to result with people that are mentally stable. And if you instill them with fear, they're going to react in the ways that Audrey Hale did. Momentum Canada. What burns me with that particular shooting is that mainstream media referred to a trans woman as she, but when a trans woman commits a crime, he is still called she. This is a war on women. Yeah. Yeah. They're like 0.04% of the population. They don't deserve this much public attention. Yeah. It's true. It's true. There's no such thing as a trans man or trans woman. They're just confused people pretending they're the opposite sex. Yeah. No sound again. Oh, no. I fell for it again. Sorry, guys. So basically, I'll just recap the press conference, which you can watch, by the way. He was asked the question, was there another target? And he said the shooter had plans, and they can tell by the manifesto that they had plans to go to another school, but this girl didn't, because she saw that it was after scouting it out, had too much security. That's all it was. So no biggie. True, Terry. It's a mental disorder. Yeah, and by the way, I don't want to bully these people, but when I say that, like when I say it's a mental disorder or they're struggling mentally, I don't mean to insult them. I'm saying sincerely that I hope that they find help. That's what I advocate for, and I've said this time and time again. I said I don't think we should be exploiting people's mental illnesses. Like, for the same reason, if my grandfather, which I don't have any grandparents, if let's say I had a grandfather who had Alzheimer's, would it be right for me to turn it into a comedy routine of how forgetful he is, and using his pain for my glorification and entertainment? To me, you're exploiting these people, and I have the compassionate heart. I want to see them get help, and I want to tell people that they are perfect the way they are. These people that think they need to become something else, or their appearance, which is wildly opposite of what the normal average woman looks like. I mean, they deck themselves up with huge lips and outrageous hair, and no, women don't look like that today. I want to tell people that they're perfect the way they were born. If you're a tomboy, there's nothing wrong with that. If you're a young girl who's a tomboy, sure, go play in the ditch, catch frogs, throw rocks at deer. If that's what you want to do, there's nothing wrong with that. But it doesn't mean you're a man. Doesn't mean you're a man. We'll see how YouTube reacts to that little rant. Yes, Lynn B. A murderous psycho is still a psycho, regardless of gender. Yep. Yes, it's being used for some messed up purpose. Yes, the dark forces are made up of PDs and other stuff, I am guessing. Women and children, but they have been attacking straight white Christian men for years, so they have just upped their attacks. Was she on or off his or her meds? I'm sure that'll come out. I'm not entirely sure. Well, right now they're refusing to disclose the manifesto. You have to go through the proper channels, this is what I'll share right now, actually. Thanks for bringing that up. This is, I believe, the Governor General, when asked by Senator Kennedy. Oh, let's make sure I share the right thing, because you guys didn't have audio last time.
General, I want to ask you about the shooting at Covenant School, which is part of the Covenant Presbyterian Church. I realize that the shooter is dead, but the shooter could have had collaborators. Do you plan on opening a hate crime investigation for the targeting of Christians?
The FBI and ATF are both on the scene, working with the local police. As of now, motive hasn't been identified, and the police chief said at his last press conference that they don't yet have reached a conclusion with respect to motive. We are certainly working full time with them to try and determine what the motive is, and of course, motive is what determines whether it's a hate crime or not.
No motive yet, eh? Wonder why they're withholding this manifesto for so long. Is it because it literally outlines and maps out the plan to target, and specifically target, Christians with a hate crime for believing something different than they believe. That's what this is all about. This is very quickly becoming woke versus Christian. And I think this is why a lot of people, they may not be professing or admitting that they are Christians or even desire to be a Christian. But that's why I feel there's a lot of people that are gravitating towards that side of, being open to a complete opposite of this evil that we're seeing. So, yeah, that's that. Couple more videos, but let me keep talking to you guys. This is an agenda that people did not ask for. So who is doing the controlling and manipulating, and why? Break apart our current system of families. Yeah, so the pedophile can, control. That's totally insane. She doesn't like Daily Wire, so go murder kids and teachers at a Christian school. That's what I'm saying. Yes. Like, put it this way, and again, I'm not advocating for bullying, but any of us who went to school, I bet everybody in this chat has a bullying story where they were bullied. Maybe it wasn't in school. Maybe it was in a different situation. But is that just because you were bullied, even to the most violent degree, if you came home with blood coming out of your nose or a black eye, does that justify you going and shooting up a school? That's the conversation going on right now. And that's why these people are insane to even bring this up. Yeah, you're exactly right, Terry. Lynn B says, how many times over the past 3 years was the phrase follow the science bashed into our heads? Now they want to ignore science to fulfill their twisted agendas. Yeah. Broken families, countries broken by low birth rates, and then populated by mass immigration to be controlled by the top elites of the world. Damn straight. Enough fantasy land dreaming. I agree they need help, but they'll never get it as long as so many people refuse to acknowledge that it's a psychological disorder. Yes. Yeah, psychological. For sure. TS says, what are the med's side effects? Not entirely sure. Now, I haven't even heard if I just closed the article. Did the article say that she was on medication? I thought she was just in some sort of, what do you call it? Therapy sessions. Like, to me, it sounded like, and this is, I can't remember where I heard this, but it seemed like the pastor was trying to help her with what she was going through. And the theory is that he was targeted because it ended up being his daughter that was killed. So I know in the churches, they have what they call conversion therapy. Now, there's a whole debate surrounding that. And there was bills passed in our parliament a few years ago now that prevented pastors from helping people, which was just bizarre because I got this perspective from the local pastor here where he said this bill that was passed was going to prevent him from helping someone who came to him. So it's not like they're going out, bringing people in and trying to change them. It's people that are coming to them saying, I know something's wrong with me and I need you to help me. And this law was preventing him from doing that. So I don't know if it was something along those lines and trying to help her mentally realize that she's not a man, even though she desires to be one. I honestly don't know. And I'm sure we'll find that out. So Linby says, if you look into the gender bending chemicals that we are forced to absorb on a daily basis, it will all make perfect sense. Pretty much. Those chemicals are in our food, water, air, clothing, shoes, autos, building supplies, furniture, etc., etc., etc. Yeah. I like the senator. Heard him before. He has down home common sense and wisdom. Rare commodities nowadays. Yeah, he's pretty funny too. He's a quick-witted guy for his age. Leaf Nurse says, I read somewhere the pastor's daughter was specifically targeted because of who her father was. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm not getting to these comments fast enough, apparently. Limpy says, that's highly likely at Leaf Nurse. Yes. Ned Tunes Rock, great to have you. He says, you never hear about the countless religious building that were vandalized or just burnt to the ground. Yeah, I've heard that. A lot of Catholic churches being targeted. I mean, just think about the churches over the mass graves, the indigenous, that whole situation. Uh, Every Child Matters movement. There's a lot of churches burnt down over that. Yeah, it doesn't get a lot of media coverage. The Christians don't get pity, that's for sure. They're definitely getting punished for things that they're not guilty of. That's for sure. Terry O'Malley says, of course everybody got bullied, but in previous eras, we didn't whine or cry about it. We got even or ignored it. Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, there's a guy in my group right now, my Facebook page for my local community, because I'm talking about this subject. And he's like, this group is bullying too. And he's referring to like when we're going back and forth. And I think I called him a moron one time. That's what he's referring to. Like, are you a grown adult? Like, it's a man I'm talking to. He's in his 30s. I'm like, is that how weak we've become as a species that now me calling you a moron is considered bullying? But I think he's referring to him having there's a beef that went on with him and another guy, same age. They're going back and forth and kind of mouthing each other off. I'm like, that's two guys beefing. That's not bullying. Anyway. Leifner says, I've been bullied continuously over the last 3 years by my government. There you go. Employers due to my choices. I don't, nor have I thought of taking such extreme measures. Bam. There we go. Yeah, that's because you're not insane. Thanks, Lynn. Some days I question it. Gosh, don't we all? We all do. Man. Trudeau says the church burnings were understandable. No, did he actually say that? Let's check this out. Let's do this together. Dang. Now, I know he had some sort of reply after the shooting, so let's go to Justin Trudeau. Oh, I don't want to tweet. I don't want to tweet. There he is. All right. There he is talking about the moon, because that's the priority for Canada, right? Let's go to the moon. Now, this would have been on Monday or Tuesday. So what was the date on Monday? Does anybody know? Let me look. So that was the 27th. So I'm looking for, let's scroll. Man, the guy's on Twitter a lot. Holy moly. March 27th. Holy Toledo. So many tweets. I guess it's because he posts in French too. Come on now. All right, we're getting closer. Getting closer. I don't even like looking at their faces. All right. Now we're getting before the shooting. Wonder where it went. Maybe it was just in French so that he didn't have to face us, face the wrath of Momentum Canada, because I don't speak French. No, I don't see it. Oh, well. I just heard it was just in support of trans, like after the shooting. Like there was no condemnation of it. But anyway, let's move to this. This was Joe Biden's reply, which I was so mad. I was so mad when I watched this. This is another, I think it's a TikTok. Oh, before I do that, Got to share the right screen. There we go.
Just got to show you that the weakness to that.
Okay, what's happening? That's weird. Try that again.
Just got to show you that the weakness to that.
Bill, I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm told that the president is just approaching the podium now in the east room of the White House.
My name is Joe Biden. I'm Dr. Joe Biden's husband. And I ate Jenny's ice cream, chocolate chip. I came down because I heard there was chocolate chip ice cream. By the way, I have a whole refrigerator full upstairs. I think I'm kidding. I'm not. Ben, how are you, pal? One of the best guys in the United States Congress, Ben Cardin. Folks, it's delight to have you all here. And who are those good-looking kids back there? They're your kids, all four of them? Well, stand up, guys.
John, we'll jump back in here. Considering the moment,
we were told that the
shooting that just happened left 3 children dead, 3 adults dead, shooters dead, and we were told he would be addressing this off the top.
Yeah, it's rather surprising. I thought that a somber President Biden would have come to the podium here and addressed the school shooting. He's yucking it up with the crowd at the East Room. So why don't we jump out of this, and when the president decides that he's going to address this, we'll jump back into it. Bill, we were speaking with you, I think.
How disrespectful to talk about ice cream and talking about the little kids standing in the back, yucking it up with the crowd, smiling and carrying it on. And it says he was just briefed. So either he's totally out of his mind or he chose to not care. Disgusting. I have nothing against the trans community other than the fact that they are targeting our children. It's all a part of the depopulation agenda. And I think you would find that to be a common thread with almost everyone, that they don't have a problem with them. Just keep it out of our lives. Like, stop forcing it on us. Stop it. Just stop it. Nedtunes Rock says the present protesters used to support BLM. Now they are trans, and tomorrow they will support the wee turtle. Just Antifa and just terrorists. Thank you, Momentum. All you streamers are crucial. Well, thank you. I appreciate you. Appreciate you, sir. Exactly. None of us had much to say about that lifestyle choice until they started going after kids. Keep centralizing kids out of your agenda, and we won't say anything to you. Yeah. That's pretty much it. Pretty much it. Here you go, Momentum Canada. Oh, thank you. I can't click on it. See, that's the thing. You guys can click on it, but I can't because it's a live chat. So I'll make sure I'll look at that. Thank you, Lynn. Terry says, no, I meant that Trudeau said the burning of Catholic churches in Canada a couple of years ago was understandable because of Indian. Oh, yeah. Yeah. He's a total boob. Dang. Lynn B., you're stealing the words from me. You did that a couple times already. Biden is a total boob, but I was talking about Trudeau. So nice try. Nice try, Lynn B. Is this the ice cream clip? Yes. Yes. This is where the senile old fool was joking about ice cream. Yeah. Then in typical form, he pedos the beautiful kids in the back of the room. Yeah. Gross. Gross human being. I don't believe he was joking. He seriously had no idea what he was supposed to be talking about. That was a very bad look for Biden. Yeah. NHL just recently announced that they are putting a halt to their inclusive rights where they force players to wear rainbows. Nice. That's good. I think they're messed up in the head, but no desire to harm them. Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, guys, that is a show. That is a show. Thank you so much. I'm glad we got through those 3 points. Thank you guys for your input. Ned Tunes, he says, tapping out, chatters. Bless you all. Thank you, New Tunes. I think this is the first time I've had you in the chat, so welcome. Please consider subscribing, because like we're talking about with the threat of BC-11. Did I say that right? Bill C-11, not BC-11. Bill C-11. Threats to this channel is not being found in recommended sections or anything to do with the home YouTube page. So please make sure you're subscribed, turn on the notification bell, and be sure to like this video on your way out today, because just that stuff the algorithm loves, and it helps me out a lot. So thank you guys, and I appreciate you. Linby says thanks. No, thank you guys. You guys are what makes this show what it is. I'm nothing special. I'm one of you guys. Thanks again, Brandon. Keep up the good work. Appreciate you, Terry. Your perspective and everything that you brought today was very well received, and I totally get where you're coming from, as well as everybody else. You guys have all great points, and I think these conversations are needed, and we will continue to do what we do every week. So this has been Momentum Monday, every Monday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Same place, same time. And so thank you guys. For those of you who are new today, thank you for joining us. And I hope to see you next week. And hope you have a great rest of your Monday afternoon. Take care. A Prayer for Walton Bay, a novel based in the area of Kingston, Ontario in the late 1800s. This story was inspired from the desire to see Canada return to its simple roots after seeing such division during the pandemic in recent years. Available now on Amazon, this book will help fund our efforts here at Momentum Canada, since we are not government funded. Rather than just ask for money, I wanted to give you something wholesome for you to enjoy as well. So place your order today and enjoy a great story for such a time as this.